Who am I? Perhaps the biggest of all questions, one which can begin a lifelong voyage of self-discovery, or which can be pushed aside and blithely ignored for days, which become years, which become a lifetime. Fortunately, we don't need a ship in order to set sail on a journey of self-discovery. The very simplest of tools, used consistently, has a power beyond compare. Yeah, you guessed it. I'm talking about journaling with a pen and paper. Hi, I'm Ray. I've been journaling for around 23 years now, and I've kept a regular journal for the last 10 years. Needless to say, I'm pretty passionate about it, and if you're here watching this video, you probably already know its value or you're curious. So in this video, I'm going to share 5 reasons why journaling is so worthwhile, and 5 tips on how to get started. Ta-Nehisi Coates talks about writing as the art of thinking, and putting pen to paper enables our minds to think in a more cohesive way than we otherwise would. In today's distracted society, it can be really hard to follow one train of thought. You just get distracted by a million other things. But when you actually have that connection of the pen touching the paper, you can follow a thought through to its conclusions. And slowing down our thinking by writing gives us the opportunity to explore multiple different perspectives. Not to mention the fact that we can remember our thoughts because we've captured them physically. When you can maintain a train of thought in written format, something incredible happens. And that is, you feel like you're able to actually have a conversation with yourself and spend time with yourself. You're actively reflecting on who and what makes you happy, on who and what makes you unhappy. And you realize what's important to you. When you have the space and the time to just write what you want to write, what do you write? What do you truly care about? Your journal is your private space. You can do whatever you like in it. You can make errors, you can experiment. You can try on different personalities and explore which aspects of them are meaningful to you and which you don't like. I've felt a much stronger sense of self since I started journaling regularly, and ironically, having that strong sense of who I am has made me a lot more willing to change, because you truly know what your starting point is. It's a lot easier to decide the direction in which you want to grow and who you want to become. By counsel yourself, I mean this both in the sense of advising yourself and in the sense of taking care of your mental health. Journaling, of course, is not a replacement for seeking proper help if you need it, but in terms of day-to-day self-care, spending some time in conversation with yourself, or capturing special moments you want to remember, or exploring different paths that you could take in a decision you have coming up, these activities are so empowering, and writing purely for me has helped me make huge decisions in life, like whether to move country or whether to end a long-term relationship. I think that when we write for ourselves, we find ourselves able to take a step back from being inside ourselves, and it's a lot easier to offer yourself advice in the same way that you would offer a friend advice, and to actually see some of the glaring red flags that might be in our lives that we just haven't noticed because we're too absorbed within them. So journaling helps us know who we are right now, but to truly know who we are, it also helps to know who we were. And technology makes it increasingly easy these days to work out where we were, with its constant throwback photos and social media posts. But who we were, that's more difficult, and a journal can do both those things. Of course, it's interesting to know that on such and such a day, 7 years ago, you were on a train on the way to meet your aunt. But that is not nearly so fascinating and magical a gift as knowing what our inner life was on that day 7 years ago when we were sitting on that train. I don't feel like I've changed that much over the last 10 years, but if I go back and read an old entry from when I was at university, for example, I see that so many things have changed an enormous amount. My day-to-day concerns are vastly different. Even my more philosophical and global concerns have vastly changed in 10 years' time. My day-to-day schedule looked completely different, and I realized that I really have changed a lot in many ways, although of course in other ways I haven't. And it can be a gift to look back on the passions and enthusiasms of your younger self and to be reminded of them and to have a reason to stay true to them. Likewise, I think just having that realization that there was always some low-level problem in your life at every point. For me, a lot of my university days in my mind are utter nostalgia of total freedom and no job and friendship and that kind of thing. But then I look back and I realize that I spent a full 6 months worrying every day about what accommodation I was going to have the next year, which of course sorted itself and resolved itself and had completely gone out of my mind. So it's a helpful reminder that life will always have its concerns, but those concerns will be resolved, and they'll be resolved to such an extent that you forget about them. So I used to think that journaling really did not impact my writing ability, because when I journal, I do not in any way take care of what I write. I don't edit, I don't necessarily use paragraphs or even sentences correctly, I don't really worry about spelling. There is no literary value to what I write in my journal whatsoever. But the very act of simply writing for a continuous period of time regularly makes writing so much less daunting and so much more natural. And when it comes to writing something more formal, you'll find it's just so much easier to get started and get something down on paper, which is often the hardest bits. Also, even if you're not writing the next Man Booker Prize winner, in the act of writing, you're still searching for the right words to express what it is that you're feeling, you're connecting your thoughts with what you're putting down on paper, and in so doing, you're building that muscle of using language to communicate something, even though the purpose of this communication isn't to inform somebody else or to entertain somebody else. You're still communicating your own thoughts in a way which brings clarity to yourself. And your thoughts and the words on the page play off of each other. It's a bit like if you just did really gentle yoga every day, and you weren't pushing yourself to do the hardest moves, but you were still stretching and you were still strengthening a little bit. If you were to compare yourself to somebody who never did any exercise ever, you're still likely to be stronger and more flexible, and it's the same with writing. Compared to a version of you who does no writing at all, a you who is in the habit of writing will find it so much easier to write whatever else it may be that you want to write in life. Okay, so now I've hopefully convinced you that keeping a journal is worthwhile. What do you put in it? Well, the truth is, whatever you want. If you're just starting out, that might feel a bit overwhelming. So I've made a list of 5 things which over the years have helped me to love journaling. This might seem materialistic, but if you want to journal and haven't found the extra push of motivation to get started, this could be it. Most of my favourite diaries have been written in notebooks which are really special to me, largely gifts or purchases that I've made while I've been on holiday. And when I've written in these books, I've been a lot more religious with my journaling than when I've had a notebook that I don't particularly like. So if you feel an affection for or connection with a notebook, use that one. I feel like nearly all of us have a notebook that we've received or which we've bought for ourselves, which we're saving for something special. This is the special thing. Your thoughts, your inner world, that is the special thing this notebook is for. And if you don't have one of those notebooks stocked away on your shelves, then now is the perfect opportunity to go and buy one, have a browse, pick one that really calls to you, that seems really special. Doesn't have to be expensive, but it can be. This is something you're going to keep and treasure all your life. Of course, you don't have to use paper. There are loads of journaling apps and even just plain word processing tools that you could use. So if you're more techie and you know that you would prefer that, then go for it. I personally just really love the feeling of putting pen on paper. I always write in fountain pen in my journals, and that is part of the joy of the experience for me. But that's just my personal preference. So go with whatever you know you will enjoy. Okay, you've got your notebook, now to get writing. The diary page is what got me into journaling in the first place. And this is an idea that I got from the Brontes. When they were younger, they used to do the occasional diary page where they would just write a detailed entry for a single day when they fancied it. And giving yourself permission not to write regularly, I do think is a good way into journaling, because one of the main reasons that most people fail to write a journal is because they just say, oh, I couldn't keep it up. You know, you miss one day, that becomes a week, and then you feel like you failed and you stop journaling forever. So just give it a go for a day, perhaps choose one day a month to write on. When I was a teenager, I kept a diary sporadically or not at all throughout most of the year, but I always wrote a diary every day when I was on my family summer holiday, and those entries are so special to me now. They mean so much more than if I didn't have anything. Like, imagine if you had 50 years of a single journal entry that you wrote on New Year's Day every year versus nothing. That would be so fascinating to look back on. So if committing to doing a diary every day or every week or whatever feels like too much, don't do it. Alternatively, if you really do want to make journaling a regular habit, then I suggest playing around with the time and the location of where you write until you find something that really works for you. So for example, for myself, I have found that I just love writing on a train. There's something about that liminal state of being between two places and between two duties and between two versions of myself that gives my mind so much space and freedom for thinking and reflecting and planning and dreaming. There was a period of a couple of years when I was living in Cambridge and I was in a relationship with my boyfriend who lived in London, and every weekend I would get the train down to London to see him, which was like an hour, and I wasn't writing very much during the week at that time because I had a driving commute and I was really busy, but I looked forward to those train journeys at the weekend with my whole heart because that was my time when I could write and reflect. You might want to go to a coffee shop every weekend, get yourself a nice drink and spend some time journaling. It might be going to a park, it might be writing in bed. Find something that makes it special and fun for you and you're far more likely to keep it up. And then once journaling has become enough of a habit for you, it will start to tug at you. So if I don't write anything in my journal for a long period of time, then I'll suddenly reach a mood where I feel the need to go to it. It's like my mind aches for my journal the same way that my teeth ache for a toothbrush if I miss cleaning them. My next suggestion, if you're not sure what to actually write in your journal, is to experiment with different journal prompts or daily logs. So at different periods in my life, I've had different things which I have written about on a daily basis. This might be, for example, something that you're grateful for that day, something that I found really helpful when I was younger, or when I'm going through something in my life that I know is a challenge for me, is to write something that I'm proud of myself for doing that day. It might be your 3 wins for the day, it might be your 3 goals for that day if you're writing in the morning. There's hundreds of different ideas for this on the internet if you just search up journaling prompts, but that can be a nice way to give yourself some structure to what you're writing if you're not sure what to put. So this rejects what I said about daily logs. This rejects a lot of traditional diary writing techniques that you would associate with keeping a journal. In stream of consciousness journaling, you go to the book and you just write whatever you feel like writing. So although I write the date, beyond that, I very rarely say where I am, what I'm doing, what I did that day, what I'm planning to do the next day. I often just go to my journal and the first thing that I write in there is whatever the thing is on my mind that's pulling to be written about. And then I just follow that and I follow the flow. And if I feel the urge to write about something else, I write about that. If you don't want to write about your day, don't. If you don't want to care about your spelling and grammar, don't. If you want to write a poem, write a poem. If you want to draw a mind map, draw a mind map. The truth is this journal's only purpose is to be whatever you want it to be. No one cares how you write, and it's so much easier to tap into your mind and into your thoughts and to get in flow when you're not worrying about sticking to some predetermined guidelines. Even though they can be helpful to get started, sometimes they can be fun, sometimes they can be useful. Honestly, I think when you stop trying to use your journal as an old school diary type record and start just using it as a place of freedom and exploration, that's when it really comes into its own. Writing a minute by minute record of what you did during the day is really dull and it's likely to put you off writing. Journaling is so much more interesting when you're using it as a place to tease out your thoughts, your ideas, to support your decision making, to process and analyze your mood. That's when journaling becomes really fun and enjoyable for me. So, is journaling for you? I don't want to push journaling on people, and I'm sure that it's not for everybody. For me, journaling is such a private and personal habit that I hadn't really thought about recommending it to people before. But if any of this video has sparked your interest, then I think you should definitely give it a go. Or if you tried it before and it didn't work out for you, but you're still keen to give it a try, give it another go. There's no rule that journaling has to be regular. I really hope that you find as much joy and comfort in the practice as I have over the years. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comments, like and subscribe for more content. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.